What happens when beauty, desire, and bold queer love collide? You get 10 scorching gay couples who are breaking the internet and the rules. These love stories are fierce, unexpected, and way too hot to keep quiet. From real-life romances to fan-fueled fantasies, each duo brings chemistry that makes you believe in magic, or at least hit replay. And trust us, by the end, you'll have a favorite you cannot stop thinking about. If you feel the heat, tap that like button, subscribe for more, and drop your favorite couple in the comments. Let's see which duo gets the most love. Ready? Let's dive in. Manu Ríos and Marc Forné. When it comes to blending high fashion, effortless cool, and unapologetic queer visibility, no couple captures hearts quite like Manu Ríos and Marc Forné. Before they became the internet's most stylish gay power duo, they were stars in their own right, each walking separate paths toward fame. Manu Ríos, born in 1998 in Spain, first caught attention as a young YouTube cover singer, his magnetic presence and striking looks turning heads. Then came Elite, launching him into global stardom, not just as a rising actor, but as a certified heartthrob. Meanwhile, Marc Forné, a few years older, had already carved out his space in the fashion world as a model, photographer, and influencer, known for his editorial shoots and runway-perfect aesthetic. On their own, they were impressive, but together, they became something else entirely. It all started in 2021 when fans began piecing things together: vacation photos, glances, subtle touches. No dramatic declarations, no headline-grabbing exclusives, just a shared photo and the internet went wild. They did not need cheesy captions or curated statements. Their love spoke for itself, in quiet moments, in bold fashion, in the way they held space for each other. In a world still riddled with expectations and noise, their connection felt like a breath of fresh air. It was not performative, it was real. Both Manu and Marc represented a new wave of queer masculinity, elegant, confident, and emotionally honest. They shattered the old stereotypes, showing that strength and softness, glamour and groundedness could coexist in a love that was both powerful and gentle. Their Instagram became a living gallery: intimate selfies at home, front row glam at Paris Fashion Week, candid glimpses into a bond fans could not help but root for. What made them revolutionary was not how loud they were, but how beautifully unbothered they remained by the pressure to define it all. They let their moments speak louder than labels. For countless queer youth, watching these two men live and love so freely was nothing short of transformative. Manu and Marc did not need a headline to matter. Their existence, their joy, their unfiltered love, that was the statement. And whether they are still romantically linked in 2025 or simply connected by history, they have already left their mark. Because sometimes living your truth, unapologetically, stylishly, and in full color, is the most radical act of all. Drop a 1 if you believe that real love never needs to shout to be seen. Froy Gutierrez and Zane Phillips. Froy Gutierrez and Zane Phillips, the quiet love story that has captured everyone's heart. In a world addicted to oversharing and viral PDA, these two have quietly crafted one of the most captivating queer romances of their generation. Froy, the dreamy-eyed star of Teen Wolf and Cruel Summer, has always carried an air of quiet mystery. Born in 1998 in Dallas, Texas, he rose to fame with grace, never broadcasting his personal life for clicks. Meanwhile, Zane Phillips, known for his striking roles in Legacies and Fire Island, brought to Hollywood a refreshing take on queer masculinity, confident without arrogance, bold yet tender. When whispers of their relationship began, fans were skeptical. But little by little, the pieces fell into place. Cozy photos, shared travels, and the occasional meaningful glance. Nothing loud, nothing forced, just a quiet spark. What makes their connection so special is not just their looks or talent, it's the way they move through fame with grace and privacy. Froy and Zane never turned their love into a headline grab. There were no dramatic reveals or gimmicks. Instead, they chose each other in the quiet corners of their world, offering something far more radical: authenticity. In an age where queer love is often either hidden or commodified, they chose a middle path. one of soft truth and quiet pride. And in doing so, they showed the world that visibility does not always mean spectacle. Sometimes the boldest way to be seen is to simply live, love, and be. By 2025, they have become one of the most adored low-key couples on the internet. Their bond, gentle, grounded, and deeply genuine, has set a new standard for queer relationships in the spotlight. Whether it is a candid laugh, a shared look, or a golden hour photo, their chemistry is undeniable and refreshingly real. They remind us that love does not have to shout to be powerful. Sometimes the strongest stories are the ones whispered in plain sight. If you believe that love does not need approval to be valid, just presence to be felt, drop a 2 in the comments. Because love, at its best, simply is. Connor Jessup and Miles Heizer. Connor Jessup and Miles Heizer, the indie love story that quietly stole our hearts. While Hollywood is packed with couples chasing the spotlight, these two actors gave us something entirely different, a romance rooted in truth, vulnerability, and soft defiance. Connor Jessup, the Canadian talent known for Falling Skies and Lock and Key, made his name playing layered, introspective roles. But behind the camera, he wrestled with a private battle, coming to terms with his identity. When he came out in 2019 through an honest Instagram post, it was not about headlines, it was about healing. Across town, Miles Heizer, already adored for 13 Reasons Why and Parenthood, had long been quietly out, never loud about it, never performative, just real. And in doing so, he became a gentle symbol of what it means to live authentically. When their relationship surfaced in early 2020, it felt like something rare, refreshing, even. No glossy tabloid covers, no strategic PR campaigns, just a few soft photos, a Valentine's Day post, a subtle selfie. Their love whispered instead of shouted, and that authenticity resonated deeply. Connor once described falling for Miles as finding someone who sees you fully and doesn't flinch. And really, what more could anyone want? Their romance was not defined by grand gestures, but by quiet joy. Museum dates, movie nights, unfiltered road trips. Two artists walking hand in hand through the chaos of fame, queerness, and young adulthood. In a culture that often demands queer couples either be a spectacle or stay hidden, Connor and Miles showed us a third way, to simply be. Though their chapter as a couple closed by the end of 2022, there was no announcement, no drama. Only soft signs of distance, and the graceful fade of something once beautiful. And in that, they gave us one last gift, the reminder that queer love does not have to end in tragedy to matter. Sometimes parting with grace is its own kind of revolution. Today, both continue to inspire, through their art, their openness, and their refusal to shrink for anyone's comfort. Whether together or apart, Connor and Miles left behind something real. A legacy of quiet courage, creative freedom, and love lived on their own terms. Drop a 3 in the comments if you believe even the quietest love stories can change the world. Justice Smith and Nicholas Ashe. Justice Smith and Nicholas Ashe, a love story that defied Hollywood expectations. In an industry that often rewards silence and sidelines authenticity, these two young men chose to love out loud. And in doing so, they became beacons for a generation hungry for real, unapologetic queer visibility. Justice Smith, the breakout star of Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and The Get Down, carried a magnetic energy, powerful yet quietly tender. Nicholas Ashe, known for his moving work in Queen Sugar, radiated that same rare sincerity, the kind that pulls people in without even trying. When their paths crossed in 2020, it sparked more than romance. It sparked a revolution of softness and truth. Justice made their relationship public during Pride Month, posting a heartfelt message on Instagram, not just to confirm their love, but to stand in solidarity with the Black LGBTQ+ community. It was not a stunt. It was not a strategy. It was raw, vulnerable, and breathtakingly real. Suddenly, the world saw something it rarely does. Two black queer men holding hands, not in a film, not on a red carpet, but in real life. They danced, they laughed, They kissed beneath protest signs and rainbow flags. They did not just show love, they celebrated it. In a Hollywood landscape where queer love between men of color is still far too underrepresented, Justice and Nicholas shattered that silence. They made tenderness visible, they made vulnerability revolutionary, and they made no apologies for any of it. Of course, their journey came with challenges. Living in the public eye brings scrutiny. Activism brings weight. But what made their story so powerful was how beautifully ordinary it felt. Silly selfies, matching outfits, cozy dinners. Love in its purest form, without shame or spectacle. Nicholas once said that loving Justice felt like finding a home he never knew he was missing. And Justice called Nicholas his light. To their fans, this was never just a celebrity couple. It was hope. Hope that one day love stories like theirs will not feel rare or radical. They will simply be. Through it all, Justice and Nicholas have remained steadfast in their support of one another, both personally and professionally. They continue to advocate for queer visibility, racial justice, and a world where no one has to come out, they just arrive. Their love reminds us that true courage is not only about speaking up, it is about loving freely, even when the world is not always ready to receive it. Justice Smith and Nicholas Ashe did not just fall in love, they built a bridge. For themselves, for their communities, and for anyone who ever needed proof that two queer black men could find magic, not in fiction, but in real life. Drop a 4. If you believe their story lights the way for all of us. Matt Dallas and Blue Hamilton. Before the red carpets and wedding vows, Matt Dallas and Blue Hamilton were simply two men searching for love and self-understanding in a world that didn't always embrace stories like theirs. Matt, known for his breakout role in Kyle XY, navigated the pressures of Hollywood's silent expectations: stay closeted, stay bankable. Blue, a talented musician and producer, worked in the creative shadows, crafting songs filled with emotions he couldn't always express aloud. Their paths crossed not in a headline-grabbing moment, but through a quiet friendship that blossomed into understanding. And that understanding evolved into love. In 2015, they solidified their bond by marrying in a private, beautiful ceremony. Later that year, they introduced their 2-year-old son, Crow, to the world through adoption. Their family grew again in December 2021 when they welcomed their daughter, Rosa Ray, into their lives. The couple first met Rosa during a school field trip for Crow's class and were struck by her connection with their son. Soon after, they received a call from a social worker about an 8-year-old girl needing adoption. It was Rosa. Taking this as a sign, they embraced her into their family. Matt shared on Instagram, "The Dallas Hamilton fam has a new queen." This ray of light came into our lives in December, and we knew immediately that she was going to be around forever. We love you, beautiful Rosa Ray. Through their openness on social media, Matt and Blue have showcased the authentic, joyful, and sometimes messy moments of family life. Dance parties in the kitchen, road trips filled with off-key singing, and quiet afternoons in the backyard. Their story stands as a testament to the beauty of queer love and family, demonstrating that love in all its forms is worthy of celebration. In a world still learning to embrace diverse narratives, Matt and Blue have quietly redefined what family can be. A love story built on strength, style, and staying power. In Hollywood, queer love stories are often fleeting, hidden, or carefully managed. But Luke Evans and Fran Tomas have shown the world what it looks like when two successful men live and love loudly, authentically, and beautifully. Luke Evans, the Welsh actor with the booming voice and piercing blue eyes, built his career playing everything from Disney villains to action heroes to tortured romantics. Off-screen, however, he remained famously private about his sexuality for years, walking a tightrope between visibility and discretion. It was not until his career was firmly established that Luke began speaking openly about being gay. And when he did, it felt powerful. He was not coming out. He was simply stepping forward, unafraid. Enter Fran Tomas, a Spanish project manager and low-key style icon in his own right. Unlike the flash of Hollywood, Fran brought a grounded, real-world energy to their partnership. He was not looking for red carpets or headlines. He was living his own successful life until love quietly and spectacularly found him. The two reportedly began dating around 2021, and though they kept things relatively private at first, their relationship quickly became a beacon for LGBTQ+ fans around the world. They were not using their romance for publicity. They were not giving carefully crafted interviews. Instead, they shared glimpses, vacation photos, cozy moments at home, snapshots of a life built together on laughter, fitness, travel, and mutual admiration. It was refreshing. It was real. It was the kind of gay love story so many people had longed to see. Not hidden, not sensationalized, but proudly, beautifully normal. Their dynamic is one of balance. Luke's public-facing career complemented by Fran's quieter world. Luke's flair for performance matched by Fran's down-to-earth confidence. Together, they built a private sanctuary within the whirlwind of fame, proving that real love does not require constant validation to thrive. Fans have watched with admiration as they celebrated milestones together. Birthdays, romantic getaways, moments of professional success, always lifting each other up, always cheering each other on. And while Luke continues to slay in Hollywood with major projects and music releases, Fran remains his steady partner behind the scenes, offering a glimpse of what queer happiness can truly look like when fame, ego, and fear are stripped away. In a world where LGBTQ+ relationships are still often politicized or questioned, Luke and Fran's story shines as a reminder. Queer love can be joyful. It can be grounded. It can be lasting. Because true visibility is not just about waving a flag, it is about living openly, authentically, and without apology, every single day. And that is exactly what Luke Evans and Fran Tomas continue to do, with strength, style, and a quiet kind of revolutionary pride. Their story reminds you that love, at its best, does not have to shout. It just has to shine. Lil Nas X and Ariza, a love story that set the stage ablaze. When Lil Nas X dropped Montero, Call Me By Your Name, he was not just releasing a hit song. He was breaking every mold of what a queer pop star could be. Bold, unapologetic, and magnetic. At the center of this fearless new chapter was a dancer who would soon steal hearts beside him, Ariza. A Colombian performer with an electrifying stage presence and smoldering charisma, Yai became the unexpected star of Lil Nas X's 2021 BET Awards performance. That night, as Lil Nas X sang and danced through a visually stunning and unapologetically queer rendition of his anthem, the world gasped when he ended the performance with a passionate kiss. Not with a model, not with a prop, but with Yai himself. It was more than a kiss. It was a moment. In an industry that often forces black male artists into silence, that one act shattered taboos. And soon, rumors flew. Were they just stage partners, or was there something real behind that on-stage electricity? The answer came quickly. Lil Nas X confirmed that he and Yai had, in fact, dated. And it was not just for show. Their connection had been real, profound, joyful, and intense. For a while, they became one of the most visible young queer couples in pop culture, sharing their chemistry with fans through performances, playful Instagram moments, and genuine affection. What made them so captivating was not the fame, it was the authenticity. They were not afraid to laugh, to dance, to show vulnerability in front of millions. They gave young queer people something we rarely see in pop. Two men of color loving each other freely, without apology. But like many young relationships, especially those lived under the microscope of fame, their romance came with challenges. Eventually, the relationship ran its course. In later interviews, Lil Nas X spoke of their breakup not with regret, but with a quiet sense of gratitude. He still had love and respect for Yai, he said, but had come to realize that growing into yourself sometimes means letting go, even of something beautiful. Ariza, meanwhile, continued to shine in his own right. With his talent and fearless artistry, he built a loyal fan base inspired by his openness and emotional truth. And though their love story may have ended, What remains is a legacy, one that helped normalize queer love on a global stage. Together, they crafted moments that were raw, revolutionary, and deeply human. They did not just kiss, they rewrote what intimacy and pride could look like under the brightest lights. In a world where so much of pop culture is polished and performative, Lil Nas X and Ariza gave us something real. And in doing so, they showed an entire generation that queer love, messy, magnetic, and magnificent, deserves not just to exist, but to be celebrated, loudly and without shame. Connor and Joe Locke, the chemistry that captivated a generation. Sometimes, magic happens when you least expect it. When Connor and Joe Locke were cast as Nick and Charlie in Netflix's Heartstopper, no one could have predicted just how real their connection would feel, or how deeply it would resonate with millions around the world. Kit with his boyish charm and quiet strength, Joe with his soft intensity and open vulnerability. Together, they didn't just act out a love story. They embodied one. On screen, their chemistry was undeniable. Every glance, every shy smile, every touch felt authentic, delicate, and achingly real. It wasn't the typical TV romance, it was something gentler. Something that captured the innocence, fear, and exhilaration of first love, especially queer first love. Off-screen, fans quickly noticed something else. The bond between Kit and Joe didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. Interviews were filled with inside jokes, lingering looks, and a warmth that couldn't be scripted. Social media posts hinted at a deep friendship that mirrored the trust and affection their characters shared. The fandom went wild, and understandably so. But both Kit and Joe handled the attention with remarkable grace. They never exploited their chemistry. They never led fans on with fake headlines. They simply supported each other, publicly, quietly, and wholeheartedly. Kit, who later came out as bisexual under painful public pressure, found himself both uplifted and protected by Joe, who consistently advocated for queer rights and privacy. In turn, Joe often credited Kit as being a rock during the wild success of Heartstopper and the whirlwind that followed. Were they dating? Were they just best friends? The truth is, it didn't matter. Because what Kit and Joe offered the world was even more powerful than a simple yes or no. They showed what real queer friendship looks like, what unconditional support between young men can look like, what it means to be proud, not just of who you love, but of who you are. Their dynamic broke barriers in an industry that still struggles to tell authentic queer stories without reducing them to tragedy or stereotypes. They brought tenderness back into the conversation. They made room for softness. And most importantly, they made countless young queer people feel seen, validated, and loved, just by being themselves. Today, Kit and Joe continue to grow, both personally and professionally. Their bond remains unshakable, their impact undeniable. Whether they're walking a red carpet arm in arm or simply hyping each other up online, their story reminds us that love comes in many forms, and all of them are worth celebrating. Connor and Joe Locke didn't just play characters who changed lives. They became those change makers themselves. Troye Sivan and Lynch, the fan-favorite fantasy that refuses to die. Some pairings do not need official confirmation to break the internet. Troye and Ross are one of those rare duos where just a look, a moment, a vibe is enough to set imaginations ablaze. Troye Sivan, the South African-born Australian singer and actor, has long been a beacon for queer youth. From Blue Neighborhood to Bloom, his music became a love letter to vulnerability, self-discovery, and fearless authenticity. Effortlessly androgynous, unapologetically tender, Troye redefined what a gay pop star could look and sound like. Lynch, meanwhile, walked a different path. From Disney Channel heartthrob to indie rocker with the Driver era. With his boy-next-door charm and queer-coded fashion, think painted nails, crop tops, and fluid aesthetics, Ross became a darling of the LGBTQ+ crowd without ever needing a grand statement. So when their worlds occasionally collided, through mutual friends, music circles, or those charged red carpet moments, the internet could not help itself. The shipping began, and hard, because honestly, it made sense. Troye's ethereal softness played perfectly against Ross's sunlit ruggedness. His introspective calm met Ross's bold, free-spirited edge. Together, they embodied a dream of what modern masculinity might look like: expressive, emotional, unafraid. Over the years, fan edits, speculative tweets, and playful memes kept the Troye and Ross ship alive. A shared laugh at an event, a fleeting arm brush caught by paparazzi, an Instagram like, a cheeky comment. None of it confirmed anything, yet all of it confirmed everything fans longed to believe. Because sometimes it is not about what is real, it is about what is possible. Two young, beautiful men, adored by millions, both embracing fluidity and dismantling gender norms, even without a traditional love story, can feel revolutionary. In a world that still clings to labels, Troye and Ross offer a blueprint for connection, admiration, and emotional intimacy that defies boxes. As of 2025, Troye remains one of the world's most celebrated openly gay artists, while Ross continues to challenge norms through fashion and art. Their names are forever linked, not because they had to be, but because we needed them to be. And maybe, just maybe, the fantasy we built says more about our hopes than their reality. And that, in itself, is a beautiful thing. Colman Domingo and Raúl Domingo, a love story that redefined endurance and elegance. When people picture Hollywood romance, they usually think of red carpet kisses, whirlwind headlines, and glamorous spectacles. But Colman and Raúl gave us something far more enduring: a quiet, powerful love built on authenticity, mutual respect, and deep resilience. Colman, the Emmy-winning actor behind unforgettable roles in Euphoria, Fear the Walking Dead, and Rustin, has always walked his own path. He never bent to fit the mold, he shattered it with grace. And when it came to love, he found someone just as fearless: Raúl Domingo, a gifted writer, producer, and creative force in his own right. Their love story did not begin under studio lights or at some star-studded premiere. It started in a Walgreens. Colman has told the story with a smile, how he spotted Raúl at a drugstore in Berkeley, California, and felt a spark. Too shy to approach, he thought the moment had passed until Raúl found him online and sent a message. From that simple, serendipitous connection, something extraordinary took root. A love unafraid of honesty, vulnerability, and depth. In 2014, long before LGBTQ+ couples were embraced in the mainstream spotlight, Colman and Raúl got married. Not for attention, not for validation, just for love. Their relationship has always been more than romance. It is a true partnership, built on collaboration, shared dreams, and unconditional support. Raúl is not just Colman's husband. He is his sounding board, his co-creator, and his biggest believer. Together, they have produced projects, uplifted queer voices, and built a life grounded in meaning. Whether walking hand in hand at the Oscars or sharing tender glimpses of daily life online, they show us that queer love does not have to be loud to be revolutionary. It can be quiet, consistent, and real. As Colman once said, it's not about finding someone to complete you. It's about finding someone who sees you fully and loves you because of it, not despite it. And Raúl? He just smiles and says, "We were always meant to find each other." And there you have it. 10 couples who did more than steal hearts. They shattered expectations, showing us what love looks like when it is bold, fearless, and unapologetically queer. Every glance, every touch, every moment they shared was a reminder that love is not just romantic, it is revolutionary. These stories are proof that the bravest thing you can do is live your truth and love out loud. And when two people do that together, that is where the real magic begins. If this video moved you, made you smile, or made you believe in love a little more, drop a heart in the comments. Hit subscribe for more stories that celebrate queer beauty, power, and pride. Until next time, keep loving louder and living brighter.